Welcome, Niclas Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Elitist, amazing album at the way the mirrors of grandeur, and obviously in relating talking about the band, this first album, and more so relating in general with the metal world. So we start by asking when did you decide to start a project like Elitist? Because I follow your career since you started with the project with the Filementori, then decided to change this this Gnostic. So how do you decide to create a band like Elitist?
Yeah, it's a good question. We sort of come from two different bands. Myself and Simon and Rasmus, whom are not here. We've been playing in a grindcore band called Piss Vortex for a few years. We had a full-length record and two EPs out. And that band sort of disbanded, sort of just evaporated around, I think it was 2017 or 18. And meanwhile, Thomas, who's going to be joining us very soon, Disgnostic and earlier Defilementary has and still is his other band. I think where he writes the majority of the music. It has more of a foundation in sort of the dissonant, tech metal, whereas I think we spice it up a bit. We break the genres a bit more in Elitist. And we met Thomas actually way back when we did the first Piss Vortex album. The three of us. We had Thomas featured on a track called Liars. So if you want to hear the very, very early onsets of Elitist, go back to the debut album of Piss Vortex and listen to the track Liars. And you can maybe see we found out pretty quickly that Simon's high-pitched vocals and Thomas's deep growls, they go really well together. So yeah, I mean, and obviously, I think all of us has just been around in the metal scene and particularly the death metal scene in Denmark since we were kids. Basically, we've grown up in death metal, all of us. So yeah, it was meant to be.
Oh, okay. Oh, a curious thing that happens with this Elitist is has well, you mentioned it, you have the dissonant aspects. Well, some people confuse with the technical death metal. That's normally because Gorguts create,
Yeah.
influence a lot of bands in this kind of and sound with Demi Leach, with
Oh
them
yeah.
and Aladdin's Balmor. So, who came with the idea to create? For me, it's like an extension from the Filementori more than this no diagnostic. The diagnostic is more. I don't know how can I say this word. More like
I would say
technical
more
death metal
lenient.
stuff. Now more normal now. Diagnostic is more normal now. But
Yeah.
when I hear the Filementori, I remember it's more more raw in some aspects.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this
I
new
mean,
album from Elitist, A Mirage of Grandeur, remembers me that this era of the first wave of the Filementori was more raw, more darkness, like the dissonant will be for it is not like clean, it's more darkness. So who came with the idea to create a band in the same vein of Diagnostic, the Filementori, or perhaps was are more things in the Gorgus vein, or perhaps was more something more natural to create sounds.
it's a good question. I mean, I think it's like a chicken and the hen sort of conundrum because Thomas was actually the last person to join the band. But the four of us have been friends for a while and have always been very much into Gorgots and Demilich, as you say. Um, but I mean, after the three of us came out of Piss Vortex, we started what became Elitist, and we started playing maybe more straight ahead death metal, and then we got Thomas along, and then as you do, I think when you write your first album, when you're starting to become a band, I mean, we slowly like threw away maybe just as many songs as there is on this album. Trying to figure out the sound of Elitist and what this was. And I think it was just very natural for us whether it be on purpose or whether it was something we were aware of or not. But because we listened to so much, stuff from Gore Gods and this weird stuff, that it just naturally became more and more part of our vocabulary to do this sort of thing. And I mean, then once we got Thomas on board, I mean, it was meant to be, because if you listen to his bass parts, he's a very, very capable bass player, and you want to sort of display that and put that all the way out front. And this sort of music is a perfect medium for that, I would say.
Okay, well, yeah. Yeah, other aspects that I didn't know from this new album, Emergence of Grandeur, is the cover art. Because you play death metal, and usually in a band that plays death metal, put into the cover art a lot of guts, viscera, blood,
Yeah,
grapes. But when I saw your
yeah,
cover art for the first time, I said, "Oh, this band is very interesting because." And obviously, you didn't put the logo like it's a bug on the face, or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or blood on the wall. So it's not like that. So came with the idea to give that direction to the cover art for this new album.
I think when we talk visuals and stuff, it very often is me who at least does the footwork at the beginning. And I think I've been working as a graphic designer as well. I did not design the cover, but I've been working with design for many years, and I think it's just very natural for me to try and maybe steer it in different directions. We all love, the classic death metal cover, but as with our music, we want to try and do things a little bit differently. And we I think also because lyrically and thematically, we don't talk about 80s horror movies and splatter and gore and all of this. So it would sort of not fit if that would be what we put on the cover as well. Um, we wanted something visually to sort of still be brutal and massive and sort of portray the downfall of fucking Earth, but maybe again, just like our music, maybe try and approach it in a bit of a different way. So I reached out to Tobias Hornbeck, who did it, because I mean, I could sort of tell in his other work that he came from the same background as us, and we approached him with a lot of inspirations from movies. A lot of us in the band are huge movie buffs, so from like manga, even like
Okay,
there's a lot of once you've heard it, you can see it. I think if you know the anime Akira, you can definitely
Akira,
see
yeah,
this.
yeah.
You can see this destruction and this sort of inspiration in the cover art as well, I would say.
Mm,
Um,
okay, nice. Well, I
yeah,
love Akira, so nice.
beautiful fucking movie. Yeah,
Yes.
and I mean,
Wow,
we wanted to
cool.
have this whole. I mean, we are horror fans, and we fucking love, for example, Cronenberg and even like Tetsuo Iron Man, this weird ass Japanese sort of body horror movie, and we wanted to sort of incorporate this grimy stuff, but without it being just horror and blood. More this mechanical and this brutalist nature. Yeah.
No, okay, nice, nice, interesting to know. Interesting to know. Well, I'm talking about the one. Talk about now especially from this new album. What kind of plans do you have now for this new album? Perhaps embark tours in Europe, a small gigs in Denmark. Who knows? Or perhaps
Yeah.
you receive more offers from to release a new album from other labels. Who knows?
Yeah, I think Disciplinary would like us to put out 10 more albums. No, I I think that's me dreaming. Oh, Thomas is coming now. Hey,
Yeah.
Thomas. Oh, we can't really hear you. Um, but to answer your question, the plans right now, I mean, we are, even though all of us have been in other bands for a while, and uh, I mean, we're not new to this game. Elitist is still a new band, at least, in people's minds anyway. We've been playing together for many years, but this is the first time people get any sound from us. Oh, Thomas, very noisy. Can you mute?
Hey, I'll mute. Press to
Um,
speak.
yeah, great. Um, But I mean, the plans right now is definitely to get out and play some local shows. We need to kickstart this band sort of, I would say it's definitely in Denmark and maybe the Nordic countries to start out. We've only had 2 gigs so far on the, Elitist. So we need to get our name out there. But as soon as we are sort of, on the move, we want to, of course, take over the world.
Okay. Well, talking about now other kind of aspects, as I said, because the one is your first album, we explained about how you gather in the past to create this new album, the band, etc. But it's a new band, it's normal. And talking about this kind of aspect and beyond a little about from this new album, the band. I saw that these last 4, 5, 6 years, perhaps, or perhaps 10 years, that Denmark is passing a good wave, or a good wave with the death metal, especially with extreme metal, because a lot of death metal bands, especially Undergang, especially Beast, has right now are the huge names into the death metal scenes compared to the 80s, or well, especially with the 90s, when Elitist, huge names now appears in the world. So now, how you see how you see now is the scene in Denmark compared to the 90s, because the 90s, Denmark provide us a good names. Just two, I think, just 2 names remains from that era: Mercenary and Elitist. The other bands left the way, and I think 2 or 3 bands returned from the past.
Iniquity in there, I would say.
What?
I think you need the band Iniquity in there, but
Yeah,
aside from that,
but now I think Iniquity is
Not playing anymore.
and now Iniquity is disappeared. Just Elitist is.
Oh, you mean still playing? Sorry.
What?
You mean bands that are still playing? Sorry.
Yes,
I didn't.
man. So how your comparisons from the 80s, from the 90s to now?
Well, there has been a huge influx. I think also with with the internet and so on, and it's gotten much easier to record yourself as well. There's a lot of more interest, and a lot of young people want to play death metal and just metal in general. Compared to then, it was more obscure in some way. But I mean, we were growing up then. I'm born in 90, so. I'm only looking back at it as past that I wasn't there for it, so I can't make a like one-to-one comparison. I can only hear what people talked about and how it was then. But back then it was a smaller community, the metal community, and therefore also fewer bands, I would say.
Okay. No, but it's inevitable at this time that the Elitist will compare, or was compared with the previous bands that Thomas has, like the Filementori and Desnostic, because I think the common thing in these 3 bands is that the old planes use dissonant aspects, like Gorgus used it in the past, or Demolish. So how do you see this kind of point of view of the people or reviewers say that that the bands are very related with the dissonant sound?
Well, that relates to that's just our taste, and that's the sound we like. We like making dissonant sound and noisy sounds, but there's a big difference in how Disgnostic and Defilementory make music compared to Elitist, because Elitist is this very collaborative effort. Everything is written in the rehearsal space, whereas in Defilementory and Disgnostic, it's more written beforehand, and then we bring it in, and we don't put it together in the rehearsal space. So in that way, there's a very different dynamic. And I think you can also hear it in the music. It has a different spirit, so to say.
Okay. Other details now, talking about other kind of aspects, is that the music industry changed with a lot of things, as you know. Where digital platforms, now we're returning back on time with the singles. Now the people does not get more attention to hear full albums, just using 1, 2 songs for the background lives. So I mean, with this, hearing, driving a car, going to the bed, going to the gym, and just this kind of apps. The music is used as a background now. And it's not the people not get more attention to hear a full album 10 or 20 times or 30 times in a row. That's very different now. So now where the for you where the R enters in this generation that prefers to collect just few physical copies and prefers to hear the music as a background of their lives, not the good attention like the 80s, well, 70s, 80s, or 90s.
I'm not sure I understand exactly the question, but yeah,
Well,
can you
I can rephrase the question. So,
Yes.
what's your point of view about the people now are more focusing and hear the music as a background of their lives and hear just by
Yeah.
singles?
I mean, I think that's a shame, of course. I think that that has, of course, become more of a thing. But I would say, I mean, when you look at physical sales, it's gone up again dramatically, you know, in the last few years, and I would say especially within the niche, not just metal genres, but within niche music genres. I don't think this is as bad. I think that there are some people out there who care deeply about this sort of music. I would say I don't think that when you play extreme metal that your biggest fear is just to become background noise. I think there are other genres where you are more exposed for this. But I mean, of course, it's a shame. I think also a lot of music nowadays has just become content. If you look at the landscape, it's just yeah, it's just fucking numbers. I see that even here in Denmark as well. More and more bands are just becoming, you know, as metal gets to a wider audience, this becomes more and more. Yeah, I think.
Hmm.
I'm also not where, and I'm not thinking so much about people just only listening to singles. I mean, if they listen to one song, that's fine. They can use it however they want. I think it's a little sad though when you look at TikTok or Instagram Reels, where music actually becomes just the 10-second clip that fits the little video that people are making, and that kind of loses the actual point of the song. Then, but I mean, people are going to use music how people are going to use music, and can't really do anything about it. So we're just gonna make the music we like, you know.
Hmm.
I completely agree. I think this whole thing of these, I mean, they've been there for since YouTube started, but these, you know, social media musicians whom you've never heard play an actual song, you only see these, you know, cutouts where they play the most tricky part, and you never hear them actually, you know, play the follow up or follow, you know, build up to this part. Yeah, it becomes again, becomes content. It takes away the soul of the music in my mind.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, and talking about now about the styles, as you can see, a lot of reviewers put in your in the and the label of the band that the band plays. Someone people say that it's death metal, someone say that it's technical death metal. But the curious thing about this aspect is I remember when I hear the first bands at the end of the 80s, like Morbid Angel, Autopsy, all these kind of bands are very technical at that time. I don't know why the people started to use technical death metal when the obviously the death metal are very technical. I don't know why. If you can hear the songs from the Covenant or the songs from the Blizzard of the Six are too much way technical than older bands in at that time. Even Cannibal Corpse is very difficult to play sometimes. So for you, what's your opinion about now? Are the people are more related with, or I don't know, are trying to put more labels into the death metal with this kind of as a technical death metal? I saw new that like the new trend in the YouTubers, especially in the influencers, that they say that is dissonant death metal. But as you can see, the dissonant is like it's just a technique into the death metal or the extreme music, not a whole concept to change completely the sound.
I mean, I agree that
Thomas, yes, sir.
especially the label technical death metal, I really never liked it because I don't think it says anything about the music. It's just like it's supposed to be tricky to play, but things that sound very simple can be extremely tricky to play. It's yeah, you never really know. So I never liked that label, but I guess it's some people like music that sounds like impressive or whatever, it's like necrophagist and stuff like that. That's when it really became like a thing that people sought after technical death metal. Even though there are bands that are more tricky to play than necrophagist that don't sound tricky to play, like Defeated Sanity, for example. It's extremely technical, but it's just extremely brutal sounding. You don't really think about that this is the hardest music that you can sit down and play in the metal genres. With dissonant death metal, I mean, I get it because it is dissonant and it's more dissonant than other metal, but it's really just, sure, we use dissonances. I mean, yeah, in the end, some people also want to put a bunch of labels on it to like sound intelligent and sound smart about things and up their scene cred in some way. Like, oh, this band is this genre, not this genre, or whatever. I'm smart, you know. I mean, people can do whatever they want. I mean, I get people want to call us a dissonant death metal. Do it. If you call us technical death metal, I'm gonna say no, we're not. But you can do whatever you want.
Okay. Well, guys, the sad times arrived at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. I love this new record. I did my pre-order. I hope arrive soon. I hope arrive soon because I really love this new album. It's very as I mentioned with Niclas, very raw one, very extreme. So perhaps do you want to add something to your new Latin American fans and Metallica followers?
Just thank you so much for listening and supporting this extreme music and underground weird bands.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing other to add than thank you guys. Maybe it's time for Mexico to come to us soon.